Good afternoon, everybody. This is Thursday, the 9th of March. This is Abe from GameSaru. It looks pretty clear out here, but it's apparently going to start raining or snowing or a mixture of the two for the next 3 or 4 days, and then a break, and then more rain and snow. We got our container in. Like, this is really the only time that he was able to get over the pass while it was still clear. In a few hours, it's probably not going to be clear. I'm not sure if he's in the process of already undocking himself. But as you can see over here, we got all this. We got this big pile of stuff over here. This is all outgoing freight that's going to be picked up later. So we've got that. We got to unload all that, get it in here. Which, as you can see, not a lot of room to work with, but we got to make it happen somehow. We can compress where we need to. There's a few cabs that are just kind of like randomly placed that can deserve to be more efficiently packed. So we'll get it all in. We'll make it work. We're going to do a quick cut, as I don't necessarily have my climbing shoes on. I just got my sneakers here. But really quick, we can kind of see what we got back here. We've got more WACCAs. I expect to see a bunch of these. I don't know when we're going to have a container that's not going to have WACCAs. But we've got... might have to come in here. We've got some Sound Voltexes. And as you can see up here, it looks like something may have come loose. Either there's something back there that is in between, or something came loose, and we've got a few kind of loose cabs floating around. Like you can see, like this one in particular, that one right there. You see how it's kind of they're kind of sideways. That is not normal packing procedure, especially not with this distributor. But give me a moment to get this sort of unpacked. You can see way in the back there. I'll probably zoom in. There's something of interest. That looks like an OutRun too. We will take a closer look at that once we get everything unpacked. Hello, Gittadora. Anyway, sit tight. We'll be back in a bit. Hey, so update on the packing situation I saw when I came in here. I got it mostly dislodged. So it did look like we had these two Sound Voltexes kind of offset on one another with this WACCA in the middle. And unfortunately, it looks like we did have some run up against each other. You can probably see over here we have another, this looks like the Drummania part of, the Guitar Freaks part of Gittadora. Or it could be something else entirely. I can't tell from there, unfortunately. But whatever this cabinet is, you can see that there's some padding in between that and two of them, but not a lot. And you can also see that they punctured the wrap here in order to fit this WACCA in there, and I don't see any padding over here, so there's probably some rubbing off of paint there. As you can see from here, it looks like this was rubbing off against the WACCA right here. You can see there's a clear gouge. Yeah, and that's just paint transfer. Yeah, that's scratched. That scratched the plastic, and there's also some evidence of that here too. There's also here where this was torn up, and the last WACCA that I pulled out, I actually put all the way in the back here. You can see we're fairly started along. Like they also did the same thing with the Ongeki, where they had a WACCA in here, and it was one of the first cabinets in the container. You had a WACCA and then this behind it, and they just kind of tore that to get that in there. But believe over here is where you have the where it was rubbing up against the Sound Voltex, and over here too. Hopefully this is the last of the damage, but we will see. Do the full lineup of cabs in just a moment. Hey everyone, we are about halfway done with this container, so I thought I'd take a quick stop and start going over what we've unloaded and what we got left to unload before this warehouse starts getting a little too cramped. I'm not sure if you can tell, but we're kind of running out of space. We've got enough space to clear out the container and enough room to work and get the outgoing freight that needs to go out in a few hours, get that on the dock and ready. But space is going to be a little tight for a bit. At any rate, we've got the start of our WACCA pile. That is very, very hard to say, apparently. We've got 3 of, looks like 5 Sound Voltexes. We've got 2 in the container and the 3 here. We've got an Ongeki, another WACCA, and a Chunithm. Chunithm that unfortunately looks like it did not go through unscathed. We've got a scratch here that's scratched through the paint, and then this one got as far as going through the metal. And I believe I found the culprit, the one that caused this, and we'll go into that a little bit later. We've got 1 of 3 dance rushes. That's the back side of it. We've got another WACCA. We've got the guitar part of a Guitadora. No, I'm sorry, the drum part of a Guitadora. That's the guitar part of the Guitadora. Drum, guitar. Now I know the difference. We've got another WACCA. We've got 2 more dance rushes. The stages for those are probably way, way, way back in that container. So here's the first interesting cabinet. Interesting being not a WACCA and not a Sound Voltex and not a Chunithm or anything like that. This is a Sound Voltex. Well, it is a Sound Voltex. Sorry about that. But it's a Sound Voltex Valkyrie model. First time seeing one of these in person. I've only seen the images when they announced it, and I'm not sure how these differ from the images back then. But one of the first things that I saw when seeing this is that this is going to eventually go out to someone who has purchased it, and we're going to need to figure out how to get these wings disconnected and any other parts that are susceptible to breakage or anything like that. Just get them piled in, get them packed in so that they don't break. If they are strapped to our freight truck, or they're handled in any other way. So if you recall, we were talking about that Chunithm there that has the looks like something was rubbing against it, and I think this one was the culprit. If we look back here, we've got underneath this pile of plastic wrap here is a lock, and it looks like this was what was rubbing up against the Chunithm. One thing that I'm finding with this container in particular is that they seem to go pretty conservative on the padding. I can show you what I mean more once we get in here and we see a little bit of what's left to unload. We've got more WACCAs. We've got the rest of our Sound Voltexes. Way in the back there we have Initial D the Arcade and OutRun 2. Probably just run by those again in the future when we get the container unloaded, just to go over and make sure that that everything else is in good condition, the seats and everything. What I was talking about with padding, so here's a MaiMai DX right next to the WACCAs. If you look back here, you can see some cardboard in between the WACCAs and the MaiMai. The back one has cardboard, the middle one has cardboard in between. The front one, however, does not look like it has any. And I don't recall pulling any out when I was getting the cabinets that were in front of this freed up. So both of these are still secured. And what I'm going to have to do when I unload this is I'm going to need to get this Sound Voltex out first, and then this one needs to go that way. Because if I try just pulling this straight out, it's going to rub up against the shell here. One of the things, if we've ever talked about these whether they be the DXs or the original MaiMais, MaiMai Finale or anything like that, is that these shells in particular, as popular as this game is, as much as we like bringing this to shows, one thing that we're always concerned about and we're always extra careful is these shells. They are very, very hard to replace. They're kind of difficult to maneuver and pack well into a truck. Because they are very, very easy to break. And I don't think that this is going to be a case. I think at most what'll happen is we'll get these free, and we'll find out that the plastic wrap on each cab just got worn through a bit. And that's happened before with some of the other cabinets that we unloaded. At any rate, we will be back in a moment with the rest of the container. All of a sudden, we don't have any more space. This is actually a bit later on in the night. It's already nighttime. Right after we finished unloading the container, we sent the driver on his way. We got a notification from our driver who ships out our freight that he was going to be coming by. As I make my way over to that end of the warehouse, you'll see how much space we actually freed up. But I wanted to go over the last remaining bits of kit that we unloaded from the container, starting with these two Sound Voltexes and this Initial D the arcade here. That's we have player 3 and player 4 of a pair, and player 4 is somewhere over here. We have OutRun 2 SP over here. We got one here, and then one of them, and then the other half of the pair over here. When I saw this on the container, I just saw the side art here, and I thought it was just regular OutRun 2, but turns out it was SP, which is, to my knowledge, I don't recall ever seeing the SP version of OutRun 2. I've seen the arcade version of regular OutRun 2. I've played SP before. I've played the home version, but never the arcade. So this is pretty interesting. Another interesting thing, so I know that the instructions here look very, very sun faded. They look much better on this one. But yeah, they're in English. Turns out this cabinet came from Hong Kong, which means that possibly the entire game is in English, which is great if we ever decide to run this at events. Moving right along here, we've got our MaiMai DX. This was the one where, in the previous part of the video, I had mentioned that there were a bunch of WACCAs, and one of them was kind of butted up against the very, very fragile shell part of the cabinet without really any padding. And I think all that happened there was some of the plastic wrap just got eaten through. No noticeable damage, cracks, scratches, nothing like that on the shell itself, which was my main concern, but glad to see that it survived. Looking pretty good. The WACCAs themselves, I believe, are these two right here, and then we got a third one somewhere else in the warehouse. Not any of these. These were from the previous container. But we got one more lurking somewhere, and it's not that one either. Trust me, we have another WACCA. At any rate, moving on over here, we got a very, very nice looking pair of Mario Kart Arcade GP Deluxes. And again, this is another cab where I don't recall seeing the deluxe version before. I know we have a pair of Arcade GP2s, so very nice to see these. Once we get the shipping in order, these will go to a hopefully very, very happy customer. Moving on over here, we got the last bit of Initial D the arcade. That is the player 4. And we got our stages for Dance Rush. Now, when I saw these in the truck, there was something that kind of caught me off guard. For those of you who don't know, these little brackets here that are connected to the cab, they have wheels on them, and we're able to transport them in a way that's much easier than having to deadlift these and put them on a dolly and tilt them back and put them against a wall of a truck or anything like that. But the way that they're attached to the stage is they're screwed in on this side, on the side where the bracket has kind of a lip on it, and they're bolted into the bottom of this side where it's flat. Also, the threads for those bolt holes and those screw holes are on either side, so it doesn't matter which way you orient it. You just have to take the top part of the trim out, and you're able to mount them. The flat parts on each of these, on 2 of the 3, there's the third one, were kind of nested in on each other, and everything was moving in one unit. Which sounds like it would be very convenient, except for the fact that we've seen these kind of buckle under the weight of the stages before. I didn't want that to happen, especially since these are going to be shipped out to people. Well, yeah, aside from that, I believe those are all of the rest of the cabinets that got unloaded. One thing I do want to make note of as we leave here is that we were kind of in a rush to get the driver out, because as you can see, weather isn't looking so good. Right now it is Thursday night. This is expected to happen all throughout the weekend, all throughout maybe Sunday night. It's going to either be a bunch of this, a bunch of snow, or a bunch of this and snow at the same time. So, I'm not looking forward to the weekend, but it's Reno, Nevada. That's sometimes the weather is like that. At any rate, that about does it for the container. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Probably in the next 1 to 2 weeks, we'll have another container coming in, and we'll go through that. In the meantime, thank you all for watching. Take care. Oh yeah, this whole area of the warehouse was just stuffed full of, there was a DDR, there was a 4 Wangan Midnights, Guitar Freaks Drum Mania, a bunch of candy cabs, a bunch of Love Lives, just stuffed to the gills. And as you can see, we have a lot more space, which is all great, because my job for the next 2 hours or so is take all of that, put a bunch of that in here, and make space in the warehouse again. So it's just something that has to be done. In the meantime, take care, everyone. Have a good night. Thank you all for your support, and we'll see you in the next one.